Last week, a strike took out Iranian nuclear scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh in the outskirts of Tehran. There have been a wide range of reactions to this, including one from former CIA Director John Brennan, who called it a criminal act. There's no terrorist John Brennan won't defend. And he urged Iran to wait for a Joe Biden administration to take power before responding. Joining me now to talk about it, former Pentagon official, combat veteran, and director of Sit Group Vets, Alex Plitsas. Thanks for joining us, Alex.
Thanks for having me, Benny.
So what happened here in this assassination, I think we can rightly call it, with this scientist? I mean, this made huge news. Should should the greater public be worried that there's going to be retaliation? What happened here in your estimation?
Sure. I mean, this is the second significant assassination of an Iranian official over the last year. It started out with head of their Quds Force, General Soleimani, who was killed, obviously, in an airstrike in Baghdad that the U.S. took responsibility for. But this was the head of Iran's nuclear program, a scientist, and he was killed on the outskirts of Tehran in what was obviously an assassination. Speculation at this point appears to be the Israelis, and the Iranians are threatening retaliation at this point. So, yes, that's correct.
So people should be worried.
I mean, it's possible. The Iranians, I think, if they're going to take action, would likely be regional. I mean, there's been open source reporting indicating the Iranians are looking at options for retaliating worldwide using surrogate forces such as Hezbollah. But there is no evidence at this point of any direct threat to U.S. citizens from what I'm hearing.
So when you see John Brennan tweet something like that, is there any terrorist that this guy won't defend? And also, is it wildly hypocritical for the former Obama director of the CIA, who launched many clandestine murder drones over the Middle East to take out people all over the Mideast? Is this a little bit hypocritical for him to suddenly criticize the Trump administration for doing something that he just loved doing every single weekend when he was in charge?
Yeah, I mean, it's as hypocritical as it is nakedly partisan. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. So during the course of his tenure, both as domestic security advisor to the president and then as the CIA director, there were a total of about 5 Iranian nuclear scientists who were assassinated in Iran. And, we heard nothing about it from him. And again, that was suspected to be the Israelis at that point. And it's only when the Trump administration happens to be in power that now all of a sudden he finds this disconcerting. And secondly, it wasn't the U.S. by all accounts who conducted this operation. It was the Israelis. So him suggesting to the Iranians publicly that we should wait for a Joe Biden administration before responding to something that we didn't even do, put some onus on the United States. Now, it's possible there was intelligence sharing or whatnot. Sure, given our relationship with the Israelis. But from what I've heard from inside the intelligence community, at the prospect of a Biden administration coming in, I think the quote I got from the last intelligence officer I spoke to was, just wait until they start to see the intelligence on the Iran nuke program. And while they have thoughts about re-engaging in an Iran nuclear deal, it's very clear the Iranians have not been abiding by their restrictions that came with that deal. And as of last week, the IAEA came back and said that they were 12 times over the legal threshold for enriched uranium.
You're an expert on this matter, Alex. You've deployed to combat. You have been overseas fighting for this country. What does the Trump legacy look like in this part of the world? It seems, domestically at least, to us watching, that there's been a lot of bad guys going into body bags, and that it seems pretty great. And the destruction of ISIS, the defense of our allies, it seems like some huge accomplishments have been going on in that part of the world under President Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair characterization. I mean, if we look at, kind of the 3 different world viewpoints that have taken place over the last 3 administrations, neocons, progressives, and populists for all intents and purposes, the president answered without actually coming out and saying it, a quintessential question that's been at the heart of our policy in the Middle East over the last 20 years. And that's, are we going to leave these strongmen in power at the prospect of overthrowing them and then having some sort of terrorist state come and take over, like we saw what took place in the vacuum with ISIS? And I think the president made a calculated decision based on an America First policy that it was in the best interest of the United States to leave some folks in power, but also to thwart those organizations that still posed a transnational threat to the United States. The Iran nuclear deal was an unmitigated disaster. They had a number of nuclear facilities built deep underground with 90-degree curved entrances to defeat cruise missiles. And you don't build a medical reactor or an enrichment facility under a mountain if you're not doing something nefarious. The Iranians have lied through their teeth from the beginning of this process.
Alex, thank you so much for joining me. It really is like a marvel seeing what's going on from some of the former officials in that Obama administration. Thank you for adding clarity.
Absolutely.
Please come back soon.
You too, Benny. Thank you.
That does it for us here at the Benny Report. America is the greatest country in the world. America is worth fighting for. So keep memeing, keep criticizing, keep thinking, and keep fighting. We here at the Benny Report are fighting right along with you. See ya.